Hi, famous birthdays. So I see that you've sent me like a paper with about a couple dozen questions, and I should pick 12 to 15 of them to answer. So I'm gonna go do that. What is something most people who follow you don't know about you? That's okay. I feel like I have a personal life and I have a public life. And if there's something that I think is okay with the public world knowing, I would have already told them. So there's not that much that I would be willing to say right now. I will say that. Oh, this is kind of like alleged, it's not completely certain, but there's a good chance that the first time I said I love you to my mom was January 1st, 2000. And I think that's really cool because she said that I think she was washing my face the day of the new year, and like I was two. I think I was like 2.5. Shoot, that's kind of late to say I love you. I don't know. Either way, that's a cool fact. How do you like to spend your spare time? It's kind of weird because for me, like, time doesn't really segment into work time and play time because a lot of my playing around is like making new things with coding or animating, so those turn into YouTube projects that eventually get uploaded and become work in a way. I think I like... Well, recently I started watching more Black Mirror episodes, so if we're talking about, like, I guess Netflix, there's that. Recently I've started taking more naps, which is kind of a weird thing to count as, like, free time stuff. But, like, I had classes that started at 7:30 a.m. this quarter, so there were a lot of nights where I'd have to not get much sleep over the night and then take a nap in the day. So yeah, that's what I'll say. Okay, enough of that question. On to the next one. What would be the one superpower you would choose to have? Oh, this is a classic question. I don't want to sound cliche, so I'm not going to say flying or being invisible. I would say... Okay, my old answer for this when I was little is the superpower to give myself superpowers, because that trumps everything, essentially. But my new superpower, because I'm not, like, a smart aleck, would be the superpower to tell my old self that choosing the superpower to give yourself superpowers is really pretentious. That's my power, is to reach back in time and tell my past self to stop being such a smart aleck. What is your favorite birthday memory? I would say... Well, one thing is interesting is that I'm a twin, so my twin brother Michael, he shares my birthday, obviously, but he's also 2 minutes younger. So I think on our 20th birthday, we actually live streamed the whole thing right at the moment where, like, it should have happened down to the minute. So at 7:48 or something, I turned 20 technically, but he was still 19. So there was this short time where I kind of was joking, like, you're still a teenager, but I'm an adult for 2 minutes. It's always fun to do that each year. Yeah, that was only 2 years ago, so it's pretty cool. Okay, what are your favorite shows to watch on Netflix? Okay, so I guess I kind of just answered that by saying that I watched Black Mirror. I don't really watch much other than that. I did watch Bird Box, but only because I heard that it broke some records with how many views it got, so I had to know what was up with that. But yeah, other than that, I don't really watch Netflix. I guess it's just because I get this feeling that if I'm watching over an hour of content, I'm wasting time. And that's like a mindset I'm trying to get rid of, but it sticks. So yeah. Who is one celebrity you'd like to collaborate with? Okay, this is interesting because I don't really collaborate on my YouTube channel. And I often thought about how, like, it was interesting because a lot of times people would say that the main reason they do YouTube is so they get to collaborate, but I guess I just haven't had the opportunity. So I would say some of my role models growing up on YouTube were vlogbrothers, you know, John and Hank Green, because I felt like they were able to turn something that used to start just on YouTube, like their YouTube channel, into something that was doing good across multiple platforms and in multiple continents, because I know they have their Project for Awesome stuff, and their, like, DFTBA, like, factories are, like, producing content for, like, people all over the place, and I know they're, like, helping cure diseases in Africa, and I just felt like so many YouTubers just get rich off of YouTube, and they, like, stay within their bubble of YouTube, but the fact that they've branched out and are also kind of corporate, which is good in terms of, like, getting money from like outsiders, that's really inspiring. So I don't know if I would want to collaborate with them, but I do really look up to them. Yeah. How did you get started on your current career path? Okay, so I think it's interesting with YouTube stuff because the line between hobby and career is pretty fuzzy. So I would say it started, okay, well, with the Battle for Dream Island stuff, you know, I was just drawing comic strips in my free time in 5th grade, and when we decided to start animating them the next summer, I think, we kind of set ourselves like up with this really strict schedule that every single day we'd have to animate like 20 or 30 seconds in order to get it out on time. And I don't think I realized it at the time, but that kind of regimen or like discipline to kind of stick to a schedule was kind of like a career, because I mean, if it were just a hobby, I probably wouldn't have like, you know, felt so bad about falling behind schedule and all that. But it was weird because like for the 2 years that we were working on the first season of BFDI, we really weren't doing it for the money, and that's what everyone says. But like literally, if you looked at the view counts and like the ad rates, like it was like nothing. And I just think it's kind of crazy to think like, how did I have the willpower back then? Because I clearly, like, I feel like now I couldn't do something of that scope, especially without the guarantee that it would ever be worth it in the end. But you know, like that's how kids are. You know, kids get really die hard into one thing. So that's how it started. Also, Total Drama Island and Survivor are 2 TV shows. Oh, and The Amazing Race, 3 TV shows. Oh, and Big Brother and The Biggest Loser. Okay, that's 5 shows now. They were all huge inspirations because I would watch them religiously. So that kind of got me into the idea of like, oh, competition-based shows. If you could have a conversation with any 3 people, dead or alive, who would you want to meet? Okay, so I already said John and Hank Green. So just to cop out, I'll pick them as well. And then, actually, they count as one person, okay? When I wrote my application to get into my college, which is Stanford, I wrote that I would want to meet Da Vinci because he was like such a, what's the word, polymath? Like he was able to build things, paint things, write things, say things, and I just, like, I guess back then I wanted to know, like, how are you able to do so many things at once? Also, like, someone from 500 years ago, how is the world different? Like, I just can't even imagine someone like William Shakespeare, like, come out of the painting and actually say real words. It's hard to imagine holding a conversation with someone you've only ever seen painted in a still pose, you know? So, I don't know if that's changed. I think I kind of wrote that to sound, like, pretentious and well-educated, you know? And, like, the real, honest me maybe is, like, a little more, like, impulsive and wouldn't say that. But I'll pick that as my second person. And the third person, okay, you know what? The Vlog Brothers will become 2 people, which means I've answered my question fully. What is one of your most embarrassing moments? Oh, okay. 11th grade, junior year of high school, we had a debate set up for AP US History class, and we were in teams of 2 versus 2, and we were debating on temperance, I think, which is like the prohibition movement from like 100 years ago when alcohol was banned. And I had scripted my entire like first speech, but like the format was everyone would give their first speech and then there would be like 10 minutes for like the teams to kind of recollect their thoughts, and then after that there would be kind of the like improv rebuttal session. And during the rebuttal session I just said the word temperance and then I couldn't think for 30 seconds, and I forgot how I continued from that because I guess my mind blocked it out. But like just the thought that I was standing there at a loss for words for so long and like 30 people in the class were watching me, it was not a good feeling. And what was worse was that at the end of the class, like everyone was supposed to kind of give a discussion on how they think the debate went, and like no one mentioned the fact that I stopped talking for so long, because I think that was it would have been like hurtful to my feelings if they had talked about that. So they just mentioned other things like, oh, they brought up statistics instead of anecdotes and this and that. But I really felt like they were leaving out the elephant in the room, and that was so embarrassing. And I'm just like, every year that goes by and I'm 1 year older, I am glad that like that thing is now 6 years in the past, because the further in the past it is, the more I feel like I can say I've grown up since then. If you could have your dream vacation, where would you go and what would you do? I don't know. Okay, this might sound weird, so I'm just gonna kind of use words around it. Okay, so on reddit.com, there are subreddits that are like designated where people post really nice photographs of scenic views around Earth, and the subreddit is called r/earth word, which is not kid friendly. So every time I go there, I see all these places of like that aren't super well known but are really beautiful anyway. And I just think, wouldn't it be cool if you had a job where you just visited the top post on r/earth and like recorded a vlog there. So they have things like they have like photos from like Oregon and Utah and like places that you wouldn't typically think of as like the most beautiful places on earth, but yeah. I just like it because it's like different every day. What goals do you have for yourself in the next 5 years? Okay, so career-wise, I think I would like to have a full-time like software job just for the experience, because I'm going to college for that reason, and I think the fact that I've kind of claimed YouTube as my career to avoid getting a job has kind of prevented me from experiencing that side of life, like corporate life. So I don't think I would have a full-time tech job forever, but at some point in my life I need to. So that should happen in the next 5 years. I don't really want to talk about like relationship stuff because I feel like my personality online is supposed to be devoid from that. Okay, I'm just kidding, of course, but what I mean is like, oh, I'm just a computer science guy, you know? There are like, there's a whole side of me that the world will never know, ha ha ha. So I think I've answered that enough. Oh, I just made this more embarrassing for myself. Maybe my answer to that last question just got changed with today. If you were stranded on an island and could only take 3 objects, what would they be? These. Okay. That was such a cop-out, oh my god. Do you have any hidden talents? Okay, well, I mean, this isn't that hidden, but I can solve Rubik's Cubes somewhat fast. Like, I've been practicing a lot, so I can do it in maybe like 15 seconds. So here's a scrambled cube. Ready? Here we go. Look at that, pretty cool. Yeah, I spend way too much time practicing. I'm obsessed. But aside from that, I mean, I can say the alphabet backwards. Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T, S, R, Q, P, O, N, L, K, J, H, G, F, E, E, D, C, B, N, A. Okay, what advice would you give to your past self? I think my past self was way too shy. I guess this is a common trope, so like maybe you're not impressed with that, whatever, okay? But I would be crippled with stage fright whenever any spotlight was put on me. So I think like I would try to tell myself that there is more value and weight in what I'm saying or thinking or doing. Because I think as a little kid I had always thought, oh, you know, adults are way smarter and way more powerful than me, so I like whatever work I'm doing like shouldn't really be taken seriously. So I think I should have, I mean, this always takes a long time for kids to realize, but I should have just realized that adults are, you know, they're just trying to figure out their own way too, and they mess up. And, you know, we're all just trying to figure out who we really are. So, you know, like a kid talking to an adult, you know, the kid doesn't need to be like subservient, right? They should just say what's on their mind. Yeah, so that's what I'll say. Okay, if you had to eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would you choose? It's interesting you asked that because my mom just gave me these shrimp dumplings. I think they're called hagao, but I've already eaten most of it, and so it doesn't look super appetizing anymore. I always like it when she brings these back because like I haven't eaten them for a while, so it tastes good. But I will say that eating a meal more than once in a row always like makes me feel bad because it starts to taste bland and repetitive. So I would say my meal would be at a buffet where they have little portions of like 20 different cuisines, and that way every day that repeats, it always seems fresh and new because of that, and then hopefully I won't get into the trap of like feeling repetitive. Which people or accounts are your favorite to follow on social media? Well, okay, social media, I don't know if that includes YouTubers, but if it were YouTubers, it's always hard to like say the YouTubers out loud because then I'm worried like people will like associate me, and maybe if they're haters then like they'll hate me too. But I really like watching ContraPoints because like just the amount of effort she puts into her videos and how like kind of well articulated they are, I really like. Keke Flipnote, who is an animator from France, I believe. Their animations just are so fluid, it's really inspiring because I think so many animators cut corners and try to like find ways to do less work and make the same amount of content, but I feel like Keke Flipnote, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, really puts care into every single frame they draw, which is impressive. And then Bill Wirtz, of course, because like the animation style and like just the musicality and the rhythm. I mean, everyone already knows about that. So those three people, I would say, I follow pretty closely when they upload, at least. In terms of like social media elsewhere, World Record Egg on Instagram because I like how it's the most liked, and then shoot, the person I follow on Twitter the most is not kid friendly. It's like blank post bot 5000, and they try to auto generate memes by randomly selecting templates and like images, and it's pretty cool to see when they produce memes that actually make sense. But just call it blank post bot 5000 to keep it kid friendly. If you could find out one thing about your future, what would it be? I think I would like to know... Part of me... Like, I think there was a period of my life where I was really excited about curing aging and like longevity of human lives, and like whether we'll get past like this threshold where like everyone seems to die around 100 years old. So I would like to know whether I live around 100 years or whether I live like much longer because of curing aging, because then I could know whether I should like scope my projects to be like short term, you know, because like some people are motivated to work faster and harder because they know that they're immortal, or should I like choose projects that are much more like grandiose and time consuming that could take hundreds of years. Like let's say I want to learn how to speak the 10 most frequent languages on Earth. If I only have one human life to do that, that's just not possible. But if you cure aging, maybe, but then you might need to do like brain alteration and amplification. I don't know. Anyway, I think it would just be cool to know, like, should I still be hopeful for anti-aging to be a thing, or is it all just a giant fantasy, which is very likely, in which case I shouldn't get my hopes up and, you know, just enjoy this life while I've got it. Because life is a gift, as they all say. And okay, I should stop talking about it. But life is a gift, and just because there's a chance that I could live 1,000 years doesn't mean I should think that's possible. So for now, I'm just gonna assume that I have a normal human life. So I'll make the best of it. Anyway, thanks for the questions, famous birthdays.